Okay, now this is the final talk on the sacrament of marriage, and in this talk I'd like to just look at the fruits of marriage. Now, Jesus attended a wedding feast in Cana, as recorded in the Gospel of John, and we see in this two signs that Jesus is raising marriage from being a civil act to a sacrament. So up to that time, marriage was simply a civil act, something that was governed by society, but Jesus is elevating it to a sacrament. Now, the first sign is that Jesus is actually present to witness the marriage. So we see in this a sign that in any sacramental marriage that Jesus is truly there as a witness to the marriage. The marriage is between the couple, between the husband and the wife, but Jesus is truly present there as the witness between the couple. And now the priest, like in any sacrament, the priest represents Jesus, and so the priest is the witness to the marriage, and in that sense is truly bringing Jesus into that marriage. And now the second sign is that Jesus turns water into wine, and this is what happened at the marriage feast in Cana. And this is a sign of the transformation of marriage itself from something that was just a straightforward civil act to being an actual sacrament. So the transformation of something into something better, so the transformation of water into wine. Now, for more information and reflection on marriage, there are several books in the Bible that I would recommend. We have the book of Tobit, we have the book of Ruth, and the book of the Song of Solomon. And these give you good insights into the marriage as a sacrament. Now, having mentioned marriage, it's good to take a look at celibacy. Now, celibacy seems to be a contradiction in the eyes of the world. It seems to be a kind of a nonsense. Why would somebody choose to be celibate? But to fully understand marriage, we need to understand celibacy. And to fully understand celibacy, we need to understand marriage and see the relationship between those two. There are very many famous celibates. There's Mother Teresa of Calcutta, John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI, and in fact all popes and priests, monks and nuns are all celibate. But there are other people as well who are celibate, who don't take part in the consecrated life. And so the question is, if marriage is so good, from what I've been saying, marriage is a good thing, then if it's so good, then why is celibacy actually practiced? Now remember, though, that marriage is a reflection of the love within the Trinity, and it's also a reflection between Jesus Christ and his church. And so, in being celibate, the Christian chooses to dedicate him or herself entirely to the Lord's work. Now, St. Paul spoke highly of this, and he himself practiced it. And like marriage, Christian celibacy is also a reflection of the love within the Trinity. But the true glory of Christian celibacy is that it is the love between Jesus Christ and his church, not just a reflection. You may know that marriage is a reflection of the love between Christ and his church, but Christian celibacy is the actual real thing, because the celibate is looking to the coming kingdom and is in a real sense married to Christ. So every celibate person is already married. They are truly married to Christ. Now, a celibate person is somebody who has discerned that this is their calling, and from maybe they discovered this calling from an early age or later on in life, but it is a true calling to being celibate for their whole lives. And for example, there's St. Catherine of Siena. She realized this calling when she was just 7 years old, and she knew that this is what the Lord wanted her to do. And the greatest example of a celibate is the Virgin Mary. And she was already a virgin, and she had decided that she would be a virgin for the rest of her life. And so when the angel Gabriel appeared to her, she asked the question, how can this be, since I am a virgin? Now that question actually makes more sense when you see it from that point of view, when you realize that Mary had chosen to be a virgin for the rest of her life. And so then she was questioning, how can it be that I can give birth to a child? that question would not have made sense otherwise, because she knew that she was already betrothed to Joseph, and then through Joseph she would have had children. But since she was celibate and she'd chosen to be a virgin, then this is why she was actually questioning the angel. You know, why is it that you've chosen me? Because I've chosen to be a virgin. How is it that I can give birth to a child? And so the angel's response actually makes sense then as well, because the angel says, by the Holy Spirit you will conceive. And so a celibate person is married to Christ and is a bride of Christ. Also reflect that Jesus himself didn't get married, because his marriage was to the church. And the consummation of that marriage was on the cross. His loving, generous sacrifice resulted in the resurrection, the new life. And so there we see how marriage is actually a reflection of Jesus' love for his church, that through this generous love that he gives himself to another, and from this springs new life, and we see that a reflection, and we see from that there is a reflection of the new life that comes from a regular marriage. And also when we receive Jesus in Holy Communion, we are taking part in that sacrifice on the cross and becoming one flesh with him. And so we are really consummating that marriage when we receive Holy Communion. Now, just coming back to the Virgin Mary, now Mary and Joseph didn't consummate their marriage. Now that might seem a bit strange as well, because if they're such a good model of the Holy Family and how a family should be, then why didn't they consummate their marriage? But their marriage was higher than a regular marriage, because Mary was already the bride of the Holy Spirit. So she had really entered into the Trinity in her marriage, and it was through the Holy Spirit that she gave birth to Jesus. So her marriage to the Holy Spirit and to God, if you like, was much higher than her marriage to Joseph. And so that is why she remained a virgin throughout her marriage. So that concludes my talks on the sacrament of marriage, and I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I hope this has been enlightening.